Welcome to the fourth video in our virtual Grand Round series here at Teachers College, Columbia University. In this video we focus on learning a new set of A, B, Cs.
I've been conducting workshops with a focus on cultural competence training for more than a couple of decades. My goal has been to make things very simple, like as simple as learning our A, B, Cs. To be culturally competent, we need to learn a new set of A, B, Cs.
Here, A stands for effects or emotions, B stands for behavior, and C stands for cognitions or thoughts.
As human beings living in a social context, we learn many behaviors. We also learn many cognitions or thoughts. So, we can say that we end up having socially conditioned, or socially learned behaviors.
And, we also end up having many socially conditioned or socially learned cognitions, or socially learned thoughts.
Our socially conditioned cognitions or learned thoughts can guide our behavior.
Our socially conditioned cognitions or learned thoughts also result in our having certain effects or emotions.
For example, if I have learned to have a socially conditioned or socially learned thought that a certain type of person is bad, then this thought could guide me in executing the behavior of treating that type of person badly, or even being violent against them.
And, the learned thought that a certain type of person is bad could then guide me in having a bad feeling, or negative effects toward that person, like effects or feelings of fear and hate.
These behaviors and effects follow from the cognitions or thoughts that I learned to have about certain types of people.
Some of our socially learned or socially conditioned cognitions include stereotypes about other cultural groups.
We can all think of many negative stereotypes we have learned about various cultural groups just from living in our society, or from watching television, or from listening to family dinner conversation, especially when we are growing up around adults who freely say what they think. I have a favorite joke I share in my trainings. Here it is: growing up and sitting around the dinner table, we all had similar experiences. The Italians were talking badly about the Irish. The Irish were talking badly about the Italians. The Puerto Ricans were talking badly about the Dominicans. The Dominicans were talking badly about the Puerto Ricans. The Cubans were talking badly about the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans. The Caribbeans were talking badly about the African Americans. The African Americans were talking badly about the Caribbeans, and on and on and on. Only the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants were enjoying their dinner, except the women were silent.
The point to be made is that so many of us learn negative stereotypes about other cultural groups while we were growing up.
But, today, any new Mexican immigrant, Asian immigrant, or other immigrant arrival can just watch a week of television in this country and learn negative stereotypes. They can quickly learn negative stereotypes about Black people, for example.
These negative stereotypes or socially conditioned thoughts or new learned cognitions can lead to negative behaviors and negative feelings toward Blacks.
Because we are living and working in this society as healthcare providers, these negative stereotypes might be automatic and just pop into our head.
If we just see or think about a member of a certain group, then that might trigger our automatically thinking a stereotype that we learned about members of that group.
The stereotype could just pop into our head. We might have to struggle to ignore that thought or stereotype. That is what we mean by having socially learned or socially conditioned cognitions or thoughts.
It can be stressful if you are socializing or interacting with someone for the first time. You might have to struggle with the stereotypes that are popping up in your head.
Sometimes you may even struggle to push these stereotypes out of your mind, while you get to know the person and find out who they truly are.
It does not take long to discover that we are all much more than some stereotype.
You might discover that you are getting along very well and liking what you learn about this person. You could become best friends at school, or best friends at work, or best friends for life.
You can get to the point that you never think about the negative stereotype when you are interacting with that person. In this way, you have learned a whole new set of positive thoughts or positive cognitions that you associate with the person.
So, this is a brief introduction to the task of learning a new set of A, B, Cs.
Remember, A stands for effects or emotions, B stands for behavior, and C stands for cognitions or thoughts.
As healthcare providers, we must learn a whole new set of A, B, C's to in order to be culturally competent.
The next set of videos will help us all to move further down the road toward cultural competence.
Remember, to become culturally competent includes replacing our old socially conditioned affective, behavioral and cognitive responses to people who are diverse and different with a new set of A, B, and C's. We have to learn new affective, behavioral, and cognitive responses.
In future videos we will also learn to distinguish between those responses that are adaptive versus those that are maladaptive. That is just a sneak preview of what is to come.
Let me share a final thought. While we may be making things sound quite simple by talking about learning new A, B, and C's, the material being offered is actually complex. The material is rooted in integrated theory and evidence-based approaches. The material reflects my experiences, conducting training workshops with professionals for more than 2 decades. Even though the material is actually quite complex, I have learned to break it down so it is very simple, easy to learn, and not intimidating to hear.
It works for me.